A company has fined almost £20,000 after two workmen were overcome by fumes as they repaired a furnace chimney. And solicitors see red over a French nuclear protest. That's tonight's Central News.
Now on Central, the news from ITN.
From the studios of ITN, the news with John Suchet.
Good evening. In just 20 minutes, the buff envelope that holds the secret of the verdict on OJ Simpson will be opened in court, and the world will know the answer, guilty or not guilty. The drama that's gone hand in hand with the entire trial is being played out to the last second. OJ Simpson's lawyer has said he is cautiously pessimistic. We'll bring you live coverage of the verdict in a specially extended early evening news. First, we go to Bill Neely in Los Angeles.
There has never been a more closely watched trial in America, and with minutes to go before the verdict, they are watching more closely than ever. The lawyers arriving amid a crush outside the court. Inside, for now, silence.
Ladies and gentlemen,
news of a snap verdict caught everyone by surprise, not least the judge.
That you buzzed 3 times and indicated that after receiving the verdict forms that you have reached a verdict in this case. Is that correct, Madam Foreman? All right.
The jury spokeswoman said they had a verdict. The defendants searching the faces of the jurors for clues.
They didn't look a lot at OJ Simpson. Some people think that means that they're going to vote for conviction. All I can say is that they looked very relaxed.
After hearing evidence since January, the jurors deliberated for less than 4 hours.
A sealed envelope to you.
As the judge held the envelope containing the verdict, OJ Simpson seemed nervous, as well he might.
99 out of 100 cases, what happened today signifies a guilty verdict.
Simpson's key defense lawyer is unconcerned.
But generally, an early verdict means generally it's good for the defense because the jurors have not gone through a lot of testimony.
The police are on high alert, equipping themselves today to prevent any repeat of the riots of 3 years ago.
They ain't gonna try to start no riot or nothing, not try to start no riot.
This is a situation of a man, with domestic violence, and, you ask anybody about it and nobody really get upset about it.
What they call here America's trial of the century is now down to 10 women and 2 men, 9 of them black, who in a few minutes' time will decide the fate of one of America's greatest sporting heroes. Bill Neely, ITN, Los Angeles.
And we go live now to Los Angeles. Bill, OJ Simpson's lawyer has said he's cautiously pessimistic. It's not looking good for him, is it?
No, well, the evidence has always been against him. A mountain of evidence, say the prosecution. Now we have a jury that doesn't want to look at him, and a jury that only wanted to hear one piece of evidence, that of the key prosecution witness. On the other hand, don't forget, another key prosecution witness was proved to have lied on the witness stand, so it's very difficult to judge. Yes, one of the defense lawyers says he's cautiously pessimistic. He is the man, indeed, who has already drafted the first draft of an appeal, saying this jury couldn't possibly have deliberated for a long time. They must have deliberated before they went into the jury room, and his appeal will be based on that. All we know is we will know the answer just a few minutes after 6 o'clock your time. It's a real cliffhanger.
Thank you, Bill. And a reminder that we'll be on the air with that verdict live at 6 o'clock. Next on the early evening news, Tony Blair's pledge to his party, One Britain, a Nation Reborn. World attention on Winchester as Rosemary West goes on trial. And Michael Howard tells the police, go easy on have-a-go heroes. Tony Blair has made a passionate speech to the Labour Party conference setting out his vision of a new Britain under Labour. He said he realised the transition to New Labour had been painful, but he wanted a Labour government that would govern for a generation. Mr Blair pledged to renationalise the railways. There were promises too on technology, education and health. Our political editor, Michael Brunson, reports from Brighton.
The conference slogan is New Labour, New Britain, and most of the speech was about New Britain. But first, New Labour. The party had changed.
It has been hard, I know. Hard for me sometimes. Last year I was Bambi. This year I'm Stalin. I'm not sure which one I prefer. OK, I prefer Bambi, honestly.
Then, on to the New Britain. I love my country, said Mr. Blair, but I hate what the Tories have done to it.
Every promise ever made broken. Taxes, unemployment, crime, the health service, education. It is a record of incompetence and dishonesty on an epic scale.
Tory Britain was wasting its assets, Labour would make use of them. For example, the communications market would be opened up.
I can tell you that we have been in these past weeks in discussion with British Telecom. In return for access to the market, I can announce that they have agreed, as they build their network, to connect every school, every college, every hospital, every library in Britain for free.
That, the first of several announcements designed to speed change in Britain. Smaller classes, every child using a computer, every hospital linked to special centres of excellence, single mothers helped back to work. But the biggest applause was for a pledge on the railways.
I don't give blank cheques in any area of policy, including this, no matter what the pressures. But to anyone thinking of grabbing our railways, built up over the years so they can make a quick profit, as our network is broken up and sold off, I say this: there will be a publicly owned, publicly accountable railway system under a Labour government.
Leading the applause for that, Jimmy Knapp, the railway union leader. As it progressed, the speech grew more passionate. The Labour leader said he'd heard people in the crowds on VJ days shouting to him, "Get the Tories out."
And I make them this promise now, that I will do all that I can to get these Tories out, and I will devote every breath that I breathe, every sinew of my body, to ensuring that your grandchildren do get to live in that new Britain, in a new and better world. The party renewed, the country reborn. New Labour, new Britain.
Despite the warm applause here and the close attention this conference audience had paid to every word, the Tory chairman, Brian Mulwiney, immediately said that there was nothing new in the speech, just the latest public face of Tony Blair, he said. But the Labour leader senses that the time for a change argument is playing strongly in the country. Today, always stressing that calling for change can also be an act of patriotism, he played that argument for all it's worth. Michael Brunson, ITN, Brighton.
And staying with the Labour conference, things went Mr Blair's way earlier today in the row over the left-wing parliamentary candidate Liz Davies. Conference delegates backed the leadership's decision to bar her from standing. Here's our political correspondent, Adrian Britton.
A visitor, not a delegate, Liz Davies could only look on from the upper left wing of the conference hall. Below, her constituency party denounced the executive ruling as undemocratic, accusing the leadership of shameful manoeuvrings. To heckling and applause, Labour MP Clare Short said it was Miss Davies's defiance of the leadership and links with the left-wing publication Labour Briefing, which made her an unsuitable parliamentary candidate.
It is far more vicious and destructive than any Tory tabloid.
It was, however, an unrepentant Miss Davies who emerged from the conference defeated.
There is nothing wrong with criticising the leader or some of the policies of the Labour Party. That is a healthy, democratic debate.
A near-certain defeat for Arthur Scargill, attempting to revive the commitment to common ownership.
Today's debate is a battle for the soul of the party.
Once King Arthur was the soul of Labour, but modernisation, he says, may now force him to quit the party. Adrian Britton, ITN, Brighton.
Britain's own trial of the decade opened at last today. Rosemary West, wife of the Gloucester builder Frederick West, is charged with 10 murders, including those of her daughter and stepdaughter. Robert Hall reports from Winchester Crown Court.
She saw little of the short journey from her prison cell, nor of the lenses lining approach roads to the court. Reporters and cameras hoping for the briefest glimpse of the woman facing 10 murder charges. Hidden behind smoked glass and under heavy escort, Rosemary West was inside the court's building within 5 minutes. Looking down on the packed benches of court number 3, Mr. Justice Mantell warned the jury to approach the case without prejudice and try Mrs. West on the evidence alone. For the time being, much of what takes place in court cannot be reported, as barristers argue legal points in the jury's absence.
Rosemary West is alleged to have killed...
But some journalists, unfettered by such restrictions, are already giving their full accounts to overseas audiences.
Modèle américain.
The judge says he'll make a further ruling on Thursday morning. Until then, Mrs. West has been returned to her own secure unit at Winchester Prison. But the hope is that the jury can begin to hear details of the case against her by the end of this week. Robert Hall, ITN, Winchester.
Robert, the world is watching Winchester. What's the atmosphere like there?
Well, I think if you came to Winchester on spec today hoping to catch a glimpse of Mrs. West or taste the atmosphere in the courtroom, you'd have been disappointed. The 29 journalist seats, that's all they're allowed on the floor of the court, and that's the only place you can see the dock from, went ages ago. Special passes are now needed. Everyone else has been crowded into 2 media annexes. They've taken over the old magistrates' court, put a sound feed in so that people can hear what's going on, but of course they can't see it. And if you're outside the court, this is as close as you can get. The confines of the court are very restricted to protect the many witnesses, and indeed all those connected with the trial. Incidentally, finally, there is one other connection with OJ Simpson. Such is the weight of evidence here that the judge will be using a special computer system to keep track of it over the next 5 to 8 weeks.
Thank you, Robert. 2 new schemes were announced today in the fight against crime. The Home Secretary wants more lenient treatment for have-a-go heroes who try to protect their homes and property. And the police want a new register to keep tabs on paedophiles. Kevin Dunn reports.
It is cases like that of Dean Davies, who disturbed an intruder at his parents' bungalow and stabbed and killed him, which have highlighted the difficulties for police in handling so-called have-a-go heroes. Mr. Davies on the right was found to have acted in self-defence, but others have been prosecuted for defending their homes, which is why the Home Secretary wants the police to be more flexible.
It's not in the interests of anyone, not the police, not the CPS, and certainly not the public, for criminal proceedings to be started against those who have done no more than was reasonable to defend themselves, their family, or their property.
Perhaps there are circumstances where the police should exercise a little bit more discretion in how they actually deal with the thing once it comes to light. But it certainly isn't an encouragement to defend and use violence.
The superintendents later voted for the establishment of a register of paedophiles to track convicted offenders. Kevin Dunn, ITN, Leicestershire.
A mother went on trial today charged with murdering her daughter 9 years ago. Celia Beckett is alleged to have poisoned Tracy, then 4, attacked another daughter and poisoned a third. Police first thought Tracy had died of bronchitis until her body was exhumed. Eric McInnes reports from Nottingham Crown Court.
Celia Beckett, described as almost backward in court, is alleged to have killed or injured 3 of her children while she and her family were being monitored by Nottinghamshire Social Services over a number of years. 4-year-old Tracy died after being poisoned twice, the prosecution said. Beckett had given her a massive overdose of prescribed drugs, it's alleged. 4-month-old Clare was abused so badly, it's alleged, she developed brain damage and eventually died. Beckett's other daughter, Debbie, survived a poisoning attempt, again with Beckett's drugs. Prosecution counsel said that Celia Beckett was responsible for a chilling pattern of child abuse against her own daughters. But this case was also about mistakes made by those in authority, particularly social services and the police. Beckett has denied the charges. Eric McInnes, ITN, Nottingham.
And that's the news so far. Today's main news is, of course, the OJ Simpson trial. The verdict is due very shortly in Los Angeles. The jury returns to the court at 6 o'clock our time, and the verdict will be delivered. We'll be back with that live in a few minutes' time.